Hey guys, long time no see, am I right? So today we are going to learn together how to make a casting of our hand using monster clay and Alginate 590, and then eventually in part 2 of this video, hopefully, we will use this clay casting to make a hydrocal mold so we can make latex castings of our hands, and so we can have latex hands that we can foam fill and paint and all that good stuff. So let's get started. All right, today we're going to try to make a couple molds, alginate molds of my hands. These were my first attempt. I did a few months ago. Didn't have enough alginate to get far enough up my forearm, so this is a monster clay medium, which is oil-based clay, so we can just take these old ones and throw them right back in the crock pot and melt them down, and we'll start the whole process over again. Coincidentally, I am trying to repurpose some wet clay. This is a water-based clay. This is a little bit more involved, I guess you will, to repurpose. Soaked some old wet clay in water and put it on a cinder block to help draw out the excess water, and I got a fan blowing on it, so this takes a little bit longer. But anyway, that has nothing to do with this, and yeah, we'll melt these down, and once that gets to a liquid state, we can start the whole process again with a new batch of alginate, and we'll let her rip. So I don't know if what I'm about to do is really necessary, but I'm about to shave all the hair off my arms. For a couple reasons. One, I don't know what hair will do to the mold, how it'll look, like all a bunch of matted down hair, if that's going to leave some type of weird texture. And two, I really don't want my hair getting caught in the alginate when I go to try to pull it off. So I'm just going to go ahead and just shave my arms. Cut myself. My wife is going to kill me. So the last time I did this, I bought 2 1-pound bags of AccuCast. It was a 370 or 380 or whatever it is. This time I'm doing 590, just so I have a couple more minutes of working time. I bought 2 pounds, one for each hand, which only got me up to my wrist. So this time I bought a 1 pound and a 5 pound. To get me 6 pounds, 3 per each, and I think that should be enough to get me up to my forearm where I'm trying to get to. Today it's a pretty hot and humid day, and I was reading through these cards that Biddy Mold Supply sends with their products, and it said, where is it? Right there. Moisture in the air can degrade alginate, so keep it sealed until you are ready. And I remember on one of Mitch's videos saying that it's very susceptible to humidity. So I'm actually going to go measure these out. I'm going to split it up equally, half and half by volume. And I'm going to go take that into the kitchen and separate it, put one back in the bag, and then I'll have the other one ready to go. Alright, first thing we're going to do is put our bucket on our scale and zero it out. That way we can get an accurate 3 pounds of alginate, as you can see there. And then we can level it out and see what the volume is, so we can get an equal part of water, which we have here. And just using a digital thermometer, we're getting it up to about 90 degrees. Doesn't have to be exactly 90 degrees. It just so happens that that is where we hit the mark at. Alright, here we go. First thing I'm going to do is coat my entire arm and hand and everything with Vaseline, and this will help release my arm once the mold is cured, and hopefully help pull it out. So we're going to add the alginate to the water, not water to alginate. I got all this information off of Mitch's video from Biddy Mold Supplies. Basically, the alginate will want to float, so you want to add the alginate to the water, and of course once the alginate hits the water, the clock starts ticking, It's a 5-minute set time, and that includes the time it takes to mix it. So that's why I gave myself a 60-second mixing time, which gave me about 4 minutes to get my hand in there. So starting to pour this out. I had a 1-to-1 ratio from alginate to water. I really wish I would have done more water to the alginate. This was very thick. I wish it needed to be a lot more runnier, and I think that's why I ended up with a lot of air bubbles, a lot of tiny air bubbles. I think if it was a lot runnier, it would have helped with that. So it's pretty thick at this point, and of course the time is ticking. From Mitch's video, coated my arm, hand, and everything before I sunk my hand in there, and basically once you stick it in there, you got to think of what position you're going to have it in, and basically freeze it in that position. You don't want to keep moving it around, wiggling your fingers or anything, so that's what's going to distort the entire mold and everything. So right now I'm just kind of looking around through the sides to make sure I don't have any fingers or pieces of my arm or anything touching the side. Amy's looking for me too. Don't want to be hitting the bottom. I want my arm completely encapsulated within that alginate and not up against the side or anything. So now that our 5 minutes is up, it's time to attempt to pull my arm out, and the amount of suction that it is creating is tremendous. It is very difficult to pull my arm out right here. Got to be very careful. You kind of want to have the tendency to really twist and yank and pull to get your hand out, but of course in doing that you run the risk of tearing the alginate mold, so you got to be very careful. The suction, again, it's an incredible amount, so just got to be very patient and wiggle your fingers around very slightly. Try to get some air worked out to you can actually feel the air in the bottom of your fingers. Eventually I have to tell Amy just to hold the canister down, because I was afraid I was also going to pull the alginate right out of that plastic mold. So once she had a good grasp on it, and I could start pulling my hand straight out, and once the suction breaks, I was able to pull it out pretty easily. But again, got to be very careful not to tear up the alginate itself, the sides and all that. So, but this process went pretty easily and very quickly, actually. I just turned it upside down to make sure there weren't any pieces or anything that would have dropped down into the to the fingers or anything, because that would have ultimately ended up in the mold. So now that everything's all cured and ready to go, and Samantha gives us our approval, we're ready to pour the melted monster clay. Right now it's about 200 degrees. You're supposed to want to keep it below boiling. First thing I'm going to do is just pour a little bit in there so I could get it down the fingers and basically do a slush coat to get everything all coated. I didn't get quite enough in there to get it completely covered all the way up the forearm, which later left some defects, just a couple lines. But yeah, once it's all slushed around and dumped back out, I'll pour a little bit more in there, slush it around again, and dump it back out again. And the stuff thickens up on the edges very quickly. I was actually surprised. It only had to, once we filled it all the way up to the top, which I think we're about ready to do here. It only sat for maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and it probably ended up in about 3/8 of an inch to ½ inch thick of a wall, and the fingers were completely solid. So here we're just filling it all the way to the top with the clay, and gonna let it sit and dump it back out and just wait for the clay to cool down to room temperature, and then we can start peeling away the alginate and see what we end up with here. All right, we'll see how that goes. That was quite a bit of work. So we mix up the alginate. I use 590 alginate, meaning has a 5-minute set time at 90-degree water, and as you saw, we had exactly 90-degree. In hindsight, I probably should have used colder tap water, like 70-some degrees, to give me a little bit more time, because it's set up pretty quick. The temperature of the clay when I started was right at 200 degrees. It was like 198 or something like that. When we first poured it in, tried to do a slush all the way around, and then dump it out. Fortunately, there was a section up here on the forearm that didn't get any clay on it until the second round went in. So I'm pretty sure there's probably going to be some type of lines or something there, which hopefully we'll be able to sculpt out of it after the fact. So I'm just going to let this set up here for just a few minutes, and then I'll dump the clay back out into the crock pot, and we'll keep doing that just like you do with latex, and see if we can't build up the thickness of the clay to about a quarter inch or so. And we're going to tap it here, make sure we get any air bubbles out of it, and we'll see what we end up with. Alright, so here's a moment of truth. Let's see what we got. First we gotta get the whole thing out. Moving. Yeah, there we go. Alright. And I did see, you can't see inside there, but I did see a crack, like right in the crease on the inside, so I don't know what that means. So let's see what we get. Garbage here. Okay. A lot of air bubbles. You see all the air bubbles in there. Wish I had more. Oh yeah, you can start to see spots in there, but that's alright. Fortunately it's clay, so we can always fix it. What's up? Come on over.
Feeling better?
Yeah. Alright, sorry about that. We had neighbors stop by to want to chit chat, but in the meantime I continued to pull this out. You'll see I got a few bubbles in there, which I was afraid of, but should be able to doctor that up. We'll put some more clay in there and smooth it out and try to put match some of this texture, but all in all, I'd say that turned out pretty good. A couple little spots. So the next step will be to make our mold. Alright guys, so that process went fairly well, I can say, I guess. You know, feel little hiccups, you know, the bubbles and stuff like that, but that's not, you know, not that big a deal. We can always fill those bubbles in later with some clay and sculpt that out. Hell, I can go in there and sculpt in some gashes and bones coming out, or put a sixth finger on it. I don't know, whatever. So anyway, stick around for the second video, which will we'll make a two-part hydrocal mold in it, and knock on wood, if that goes well, then we'll be able to pour some latex in that bad boy and start pulling out latex hands. I have to do the other hand, of course, so I can have pairs, but I'm not going to record that one. Obviously, we're going to do the exact same thing we did the first time. Hopefully not with any many bubbles and you know, all the stuff we learned this first time around. So anyway, stick around, guys. Hopefully we'll have another video here next couple weeks, couple months, couple years, whatever. You know how I roll. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.